Hello!
Hello!
Welcome back to GiCheon in the kitchen. Last week we showed you how to make a sourdough starter, which means that if you constantly feed it, it will stay with you indefinitely.
Do we still have it?
We still have I've been feeding it regularly. It is in fact in another cupboard. It's in our hot press, where our hot water boiler is. And sure enough, it may need feeding. But look,
wow,
it's wonderfully bubbly.
It is growing, oh my god.
It's twice the volume it was, even though it's the same weight. Now, something I may have misinformed last time was I showed you how to measure the flour and water in volume. But it should actually be done in weight, because flour and water are completely different densities. So oh, it smells like beer, like wheat beer, but a little bit fizzy, a little bit vinegary. Okay, so I had that this morning. So I'm not going to feed that now, but I will show you how to feed it before we make our sourdough bread. It's not quite ready to make bread yet. As I explained, this is our yogurt starter. Okay, now yogurt starter is very ready. Okay, I've had this now for 2 months. I have enjoyed some yogurt this morning, in fact. It's actually getting a little bit sour, too sour in fact to eat anymore. But it's perfect now for making yogurt. So what we have here is, on the stove behind me, I have milk that has just been brought to the simmer. Okay, I have here just over a litre. Okay, I have a jar here that takes approximately 1300 ml. Okay, 1300 ml. This is 1200 ml, and that's about 100 ml of starter. Okay.
And how did we get the starter?
Well, this is my personal yogurt starter culture. What I'm going to do is put that in some ice water. Okay, because we don't want it as hot as it is, because it'll kill the culture. Okay, I'll turn that off as well. So, I have my oven turned to approximately 38 degrees, okay? 42 degrees, 30, somewhere around that temperature, but below 50 degrees, because it's over 50 degrees, again, it will start to kill, or not kill, but slow down the yogurt production. Okay, so I've simmered my milk and then brought it back down, and you bring it up to a simmer very gently.
Brought it back down?
So I brought it up to the point where bubbles are just starting to form on the surface and a froth is just starting to form on the surface, and then you turn the heat down again. Okay, and you allow it to reduce back down in temperature slowly. It's now somewhere around, oh yeah, too hot. Yeah, okay. Now we've both washed our hands, we have clean hands. So this is now an ice bath. It's got some ice in there. You can see, big chunk of ice. To bring ice. You may have seen ice before. So here we have our ice bath to bring it back down in temperature, okay, as quickly as possible. And if you could just stir that for me, very gently stir it, constantly stir it, making sure the spoon goes all the way to the bottom and maybe scrapes along the bottom of the pan.
Why do we do that?
Okay, that's to make sure that the bottom of the pan, well, when the bottom of the pan is on the heat, you definitely need to be putting your spoon on the bottom of the pan and dragging it across the bottom of the pan. That's because if you don't do that, you'll get a layer of burnt milk on the bottom of your pan. Okay, it's not as important in this stage, but it's good to practice that technique so that when you do stir milk in a pan, you get used to doing that, because there are a few things that you need to do that with when you're cooking on a hob, but milk is definitely one where you need to be dragging and scraping the spoon across the bottom of the pan constantly to make sure that the fats don't burn to the bottom of the pan. Okay, now our yogurt starter is used to being in the fridge. It's been in the fridge now for 4 or 5 days, so now it's been brought out of the fridge. It's actually a little bit active. I don't know if you heard that fizz, but essentially it's a living culture.
Oh my god.
Okay, so
Can I smell it? Yeah, it has sour smell.
yeah, it's a bit too sour to eat now. Well, I tried it. It is sour to eat. You'd love it, but most people wouldn't particularly enjoy that level of sour. Can you just pass me some tissue, please? So, thank you. But it's perfect to help start a new yogurt culture. Okay, so we have our oven on proof setting, because it's most microorganisms like that temperature range that's just above the human body temperature, but below 50 degrees
How did you
centigrade.
get this thing?
Well, how did I get that? So, in the very beginning, about 3 months ago, I went out and I bought from a supermarket a pot of yogurt. Now, I didn't just buy any old pot of yogurt. I made sure to read the ingredients and make sure that I had a yogurt that had no additional ingredients, no preservatives. It wasn't a 0% fat. It had no added sugar. And it definitely said on the back, contains a live culture. Okay, now this kind of yogurt, usually it says organic and things like that. It's very important you don't buy cheap, okay? Because this might actually be the last time you ever buy yogurt, so you might as well buy a good one, right?
And what have you done with it?
Well, then I made yogurt from it. And then I kept making yogurt from that yogurt. Similar to, as I said, with the sourdough, a good yogurt culture could last you a lifetime of yogurt supply.
So when you were doing the first time, this was the yogurt you bought?
Yeah, in fact, about 0.1% if that yogurt is still in this yogurt. Okay?
Okay.
Now, if you're going to try opening it again,
Should we maybe show it all to the camera?
and I'm going to show that to the camera as best I can, and hopefully it doesn't spit at the camera. Okay, I'm not going to tip it too much or it'll pour out. But there's bubbles in it, it's very lively, and it's ready to go. Okay? Again, can I? It's very messy as well. Okay. Oh, thank goodness we're ready for a mess. Okay. So, as my beautiful partner was stirring away, this milk has now come down to just above body temperature. Like literally, it's just lukewarm now. Okay?
Wow, it's so fast. It cooled down so fast.
Yeah, but
because of
look,
the iced
look
water.
at the ice. That big lump of ice we showed you at the beginning has gone down to that. Okay? All the small ice cubes are all now completely melted. That shows you that all the heat energy has been absorbed by the ice bath. The ice bath is now
Kind of warm.
kind
almost.
of warm water, yeah. But we've still got a lump of ice in there, right? Okay, so you can tell when it's ready because all your ice will have melted. Your water outside will be just under body temperature. And if you have a thermometer, you can do this better. But I want to show you, because not everyone has a cooking thermometer at home. Not everybody.
But you can just touch it. People can
But
wash
you
their
can
hands and
just,
touch it, right?
with a clean hand, touch it with your finger, and if you can stand to hold your finger in it, it's fine. Okay, if you can't because it's too hot, it's still too hot. Okay, now we've got our clean and sanitized jar. Oh, actually, it's not sanitized. It's clean, but then I showed you last time. Oh, I didn't. I told you last time about my Star San spray. So this is a solution of Star San, which is quite easily available in any home cooking.
It has strong smell.
It's a strong sort of vinegary smell because it's an acid base. Acid based, not because acid and base are different things, opposites in fact. Okay, so you don't need to make sure that it's completely drained out because it's an acidophilic bacteria that we're working with today. Lactobacillus.
So we don't have to wash it, it's just alright like
No.
that.
That will kill every other kind of bacteria. Every mould, every
But
yeast.
we need the good bacteria there.
But the good bacteria here like the acid, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to pour in our live culture, okay? And we've got all of that in there. Now I don't personally strain yogurt, but you can. You can strain it to make it Greek style, which is a good deal thicker. Okay.
Can
Yes, let's get a good shot. Now it's in a bigger jar, it's easier to get a good shot of the inside.
yeah, it's good.
Okay, so you can see it's got this like liquid, it's thick bits, lumpy bits. I love it like that. Some people prefer it just thick and creamy with no runny bits. You can do whatever you need to do. You can blend it, you can do all kinds of things to it, and certainly add a bit of honey to it when you're eating it, okay? So here we have our milk, okay, and we want to just get a piece of tissue, using quite a lot of kitchen roll today. Okay, wipe the bottom, make sure none of that water from the water bath, which may not be clean, gets into our jar, okay? Okay, great. I can feel on the bottom of that pan, there's nothing burnt to the bottom of that pan, so we've done a good job. Just take that for me, and I can go into the sink.
Into the sink?
Yeah.
We won't need it later?
Actually, do you know what? Yeah, that can go where it is. Okay, now I'm just going to go over here, just in case, and I'm going to gently pour the milk into the jar. Okay, now if you've got a saucepan with a special pouring mouth, great. We have, but it's not a big pan. This one is the right size, but it doesn't have the pouring bits. Okay, now just use that. Wipe that up. Okay, and yes, so you're right, we do need the spoon. I'll just wipe that off. Okay. Give it a quick spritz with the star sand. Okay. Now, simply stir. Okay, you can see the consistency of this now is nothing like yogurt. Okay?
Not at all. Like yogurt.
It's more like a milkshake. Okay? Slightly thicker than yogurt because of the added yogurt. Sorry, slightly thicker than milk because of the added yogurt, but not as thick as yogurt. So what we're going to do, going to give it a good mix, because this is the last time you're going to mix it. Okay, you're not going to touch it once you've stopped mixing it now. Okay, so you do a really good mix through, make sure that all those bacteria are distributed nice and evenly. And you, when you say you want to use milk,
If I want to move it more to the center of the camera, which direction will be here?
There. You want to use whole milk, which in the UK is a blue top, okay? Whole fat milk, okay? You can't actually find in the UK raw milk very easily, but considering that you have to basically pasteurize it anyway, there's no real difference I've found in using whole milk or in using raw milk or unpasteurized milk. You find your pasteurized milk, don't use homogenized milk, okay? just whole pasteurised milk. Okay, simmer it, bring it down from the simmer, cool it, mix it with a yogurt culture. That's it. Except for the last stage, which is incubation. Okay, so that could take a week to make yogurt, okay, at room temperature. However, we're going to speed the process up by incubating our yogurt culture. We're going to put it in an ideal temperature environment, okay, which in our oven is that. It feels lovely and warm in there, and it's going to stay in there.
How many degrees?
So that is about 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, Fahrenheit, not sure, but here in the UK we use Celsius. 36, 37 degrees is human body temperature. 37.5.
It should be warmer than that?
Just a bit warmer than that. 40 degrees, 45 degrees is where it will stop having a beneficial effect and start having a detrimental effect, and we'll slow it down. Okay. Now, if you like it really, really thick and really, really sour, 6 hours. Okay.
6 hours there inside?
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
If you like it a little bit runny, which I think we like it a little bit runny, then it can go for about 3 hours. Okay, so anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, depending on your taste. Okay, and whether or not you need to use your oven.
So each time you made yogurt, you did it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Now we also would use our hot press, but the hot press isn't hot enough really to generate that really rapid reproduction cycle. Okay. Now here's some yogurt we made earlier. This is from the previous batch, and it's been in the fridge, so it wasn't actually fizzing away like the last one was. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see there's a lot of whey in there. Whey is the slightly golden coloured clear liquid that forms aside from the fats. So the fats form lumps and clumps, and the proteins all form lumpy clumpy bits, and the whey, the golden whey, contains a lot of the sugars that then convert into the acid, but they don't solidify, they stay separate. Now you can strain that off with a cheesecloth. Okay, so you can make thick, really thick strained yogurt, Greek style yogurt. And the other thing you can do, which I really like to do,
frozen yogurt.
right? A little surprise.
Really tasty.
Yeah, so Vika didn't actually know I made this until just now, so that was a genuine surprise reaction. So here's frozen yogurt. Now, what I do is every couple of hours you scrape it with a fork, because otherwise it could freeze like a solid block and you can't eat it like that. So that's frozen yogurt, which is very, very tasty.
This is
but what I do is I blend it with honey first.
Oh my god. Is it the same you made last time?
Yeah.
And last time you also mixed with the honey?
Yeah, well I mixed some sugar in with it as well last time.
Oh, last time I think was a bit sweeter than this one.
Yeah, last time was sweeter because I used sugar.
It's very tasty. Oh, frozen yogurt. It's great. It has very creamy taste.
Very creamy. Creamier even than ice cream, I think, personally.
So after we make this yogurt, could we show how to make frozen yogurt?
Yeah, so it's really easy to make frozen yogurt. You take yogurt, you mix it with something sweet that you like the flavour of. It can be jam, it can be honey, it can be sugar, it can be chocolate, chocolate syrup, and you mix it in. You can even blend it to the point where it's completely homogeneous, and then just freeze it, put it in the freezer. But then every few hours you should try and bash it up and break it up into pieces, otherwise it'll freeze as one big solid piece and it's really quite difficult to eat then. Best method I've found if you do accidentally make a solid block of yogurt is to scrape it with a fork.
While it is freezing?
While it's frozen, and it will fluff it up into snow. Like
this one?
Yeah. and then you can put it back in the freezer and it'll keep like that. Anyway, so I could keep you on the camera for another 6 hours while we show you the yogurt, but it will come out looking like the yogurt I showed you just now. Okay, it'll be thicker, it'll be creamy, it'll have a tart, sour taste, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's also very, very beneficial from a probiotic point of view. A lot of these bacteria, they live in your gut, they support your immune system, and they help keep the bad bacteria that you don't want in your gut in check. They keep them constantly in a battle. Okay, you need the good bacteria to fight the bad bacteria. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little video about making yogurt, and hopefully someday soon our sourdough starter will be ready for making bread. But right now it's just a little bit weak to make bread with. And again, as I said, take all the instructions from the first video, but don't use volume, use weight. Okay, flour and water don't weigh the same by density. So 100 grams of water and 100 grams of flour, but not 1 cup and 1 cup. Okay, 100 grams, 100 grams, fine. Or an ounce and an ounce, fine, but not cups. Otherwise you end up far too runny. Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
And feed your key.
Feed your key.